Good afternoon to all of you and people who are listening to us. Good evening and good morning to them if you are from different time zones. I'm Prayank Khandelwal. I'm founding partner of a firm called as Photon Legal. Photon Legal provides intellectual property services to small and medium scale businesses, ranging from high tech to pharmaceutical industries. We help clients to protect their businesses by filing bunch of IPs, be it patent, copyright, trademark, designs, and also take care of their compliance activities depending upon the client's needs. So we have been fortunate enough to have all of you, right from Anthony, Joanna, Gideon, and John. We have a very distinguished panel today. I'm so glad to introduce all of you. But first of all, please accept my warm greetings. Thank you so much for coming on a busy day. It's the start of the week, and I'm glad that you could make some room for our webinar. Thank you so much, guys. So
Thank you. Glad to be here.
excellent. So, guys, I'm just gonna have to request you one thing, that please allow me to read out this bio sheet. This is the only thing which is planned in our today's webinar. And trust me, rest of all the things, right from the question to the discussion which we are gonna having, will be live. It's not scripted. I do not have any questions prepared for all of you. All right. So I'll quickly start introducing all of you. We'll start with John first. John is the founder, CEO, and president of Worldwide Development Corporation. His extensive background in construction includes two mobile park homes and the installation of municipal sewer system. He is a US Army veteran. John also holds a bachelor degree in an IT service. He previously worked as a lead analyst up to 2006. Later, then he focused his passion on creating kinetic energy from river flow, which is again interesting. The knowledge and expertise obtained through 12 years of working on an open fluid dynamic system makes him one of the leading experts in the subject. John is a firm believer that we all must keep learning throughout our life in order to progress. I have to agree with you on this, John. And honestly, I read somewhere recently that earning before learning is only possible in dictionary. Otherwise, in your life, learning will always supersede earning. And if you want to earn more, you must learn more and more. So great to have you, John. Thank you so much for coming on the panel. We are glad to have you.
Oh, I'm very glad to be here. It's always good to talk with other folks and around the world, especially, and this is an opportunity to do that. Just by the way, we believe we've created a new energy invention that will power the entire world, that will replace all forms of energy on the planet. We're so confident in that, we put out a United Nations challenge that I sent to the Secretary General upon his request, that has been sent to all the member countries of the United Nations. The challenge states that we should be able to generate enough energy to power 15,000 planets for 5% of the cost of wind and solar. And if we cannot fulfill that challenge right from the materials that already exist, then we'll fold up the company and release all rights to the new energy invention. But if we can pass that challenge, which would be considered a miracle in most people's eyes, because 99.9% of the engineers around the world think that's impossible, then we expect to get patent protection and collect royalties to help poor countries and rebuild a middle class, not for myself, but for the rest of the world.
Superb. Superb, John. Superb. This is awesome. And trust me, John, I'm firm believer in miracles, and miracles do happen. The engineers will make sure that it happens.
Well, by putting out that challenge, we put our whole company at risk. And I've never asked anybody for a penny during the entire 15-year endeavor. So that, and I still am not. So that should say everything that needs to be said about the confidence that we have in what we've created. I thank you so much for being on this show.
All right, excellent. Great to have you. Our next speaker is Tony Trippi. So, and Tony is a managing director at Pat Informatics, His company produces patent landscape reports and provide insights into how technology is evolving on a day-to-day basis. In patent analytics, like including WIPO, which is World Intellectual Property Organization. He is named as one of the top 300 IP strategists in the past by IAM magazine, which is one of the recognized and most trusted and honorable magazine in the field of intellectual property. And he has been also been asked to speak on different issues of patent analytics, including landscape and other parts. Tony's we are really glad to have you. I'm sure your expertise and experience in the field of patents and the evolving nature of technology would certainly add a lot of value to the panel today.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Excellent, great. So next we have is Joanna. So Joanna is the founder and CEO of Reality Well. It's a VR vision group company. She's a dedicated nurse and a technology expert with over 10 years of providing care to her client and over 5 years of technology expertise in Canada and internationally. She is specifically driven to transform the way we view and approach client care. So she is an expert in both VR and nursing. So these are the two topics which are almost, I mean, diagonally opposite to each other, if I may put that word. Her goal is to greatly improve the quality of life for all using her expertise in science, business, and tech. So she is coming from a very different background altogether. It's our pleasure to welcome you, Ms. Joanna. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I'm really glad to be here and to be part of this panel.
Excellent. Our next speaker is Gideon Rubin. Gideon is a co-founder and CEO of Pandio, which is a leading technology company that provides AI connectivity for data-driven decision making. Currently, Gideon is leading a team of data scientists, specialized engineers, digital transformation professional. Gideon supports his clients to harness data to make data-driven simple for them. He is a driven entrepreneur striving to build businesses that bring about change in people's life. That's great vision to have, Gideon. He's, of course, because he's running a data science company, he's specialized in data science, big data, product development, growth hacking, and also digital transformation. One of the key things which I like about Gideon is his belief. He believes in simplicity of work, and he feels like it's an ultimate sophistication. We would love to know much more about it, Gideon, in the discussion. Great to have you here. Thank you so much.
Sure, thanks. I'm glad to be here and glad to join the other panelists today.
All right. So as I mentioned in the beginning, now my hands are all up. I do not have any shit to look at. And we're going to be having a very candid discussion here, which will, of course, add a lot of value to the folks who are listening to us. So great. And guys, as we, I mean, all of you were present on the Friday night as well when we had a speakers catch-up call and we talked about the reason why we are here together. So the current world is suffering from pandemic and people are not getting enough care. People are in stress. They do not know what to do when the pandemic is gonna over. When would they be able to see their loved ones, they travel across the world, complete their bucket list, which they made on 31st of December. Nobody has any clue. So we thought, why don't we come together on a platform like Zoom, where we can talk to people from India, USA, Canada, and touch to millions of lives to reach out to more and more masses and help out with our expertise, help them out with distinguished experience which you guys have in the real field, and try to basically put more and more positivity in everybody's life. So that with that aim, we started with hosting this summit. And today is our first day. We're going to be having 5 sessions on 4 consecutively days. And so that's our why of conducting this session. There's no other reason. We're going to be just focusing on how can we add value to the startup ecosystem, to the small SME, to the businessman who is suffering from COVID, or he has no idea of how to launch, how to scale, how to growth hack. So our contribution, our knowledge, our wisdom would help that individual to succeed in the business. That's our vision. That's our aim of doing this. So thank you so much, guys, again to coming on board. My first question would be to Gideon. As I said, I'm so impressed with his belief of having sophistication and adding the simplicity. So my question to you is this: how do you manage to keep it simple?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the challenges we see across large scale organizations is that there's so many people involved and there's so many technologies involved that it's just naturally complex. But when people focus on the outcome they're trying to get and the sources of the data, and don't focus so much on kind of all the things that exist today in their ecosystem and all the players and people, oftentimes they find out that they actually don't need to move their data everywhere. They don't need to build tons and tons of infrastructure. What they really need to do is focus again on getting access to the data that'll drive the decisions and then running it through the models, wherever those models are. So nowadays it's Google Cloud or Amazon Cloud. It might be open source on their internal systems, but wherever their access to those models are, they have to get the data in and out of those models. And that's really what we focus on is moving the data, really making it available in one place so you can see it, and then moving it to where it needs to go. Versus, digital transformation oftentimes comes down to, oh, you're on-prem, let's move it all to the cloud. And then that becomes just a challenge in itself without even focusing on what are the decisions you're trying to get to at the end of that process, right? And so we focus more on that end state and then work backwards as simple as possible to get to that end state.
Excellent. So you are basically focusing on the end goal and doing the reverse calculation back there, how to make that happen. That's great. Great insight, Gideon. I'm sure this is working very well for you. Moving to Tony. So Tony, people are talking about too much of data. I mean, Gideon says that data is too much. You need to analyze it and then pull a professional in the patent side. How do you look at volume of how much can a startup data?
Yeah, apologies, you're breaking up a little bit, so I'm not entirely sure how clear this is, and I only heard part of the question, but yeah, I will say, to Gideon's point, there's it's funny too, because one of the taglines for my company is data-driven decisions. So we have that much in common. And I think we also have a similar approach where I once upon a time came up with this idea, what I refer to as the linear law of patent analytics. And the linear law was pretty straightforward in the sense that the need drives the question drives the data drives the tool. And so it's this progression through the ideas of how is it that you're going to provide value or insight to a particular business need. And so that's something that we do at Patent Informatics as far as all the patent analytics projects that we run through, is we start with what's the need, what's the need behind the need, why is the business looking to discover something, what are they going to do with that information, how are they going to drive their business goals forward by having these additional insights. And then once the need behind the need is identified, then you can start asking the right questions. And once you have the right questions, you can start compiling the right data. And once you have the right data, you can start thinking about models and pieces of software and different types of analyses. And finally, once you've gotten that all pulled together, you have to identify those insights and communicate those back to the client in some capacity that's going to allow them to have actionable insight. And so, once again, very much along the lines of what Gideon was saying, the projects that we do are very custom, just because it's absolutely essential that you have a really clear idea of what the company intends to do with that data, what exactly they need to be successful, and what sort of insights you can provide them in order to allow them to do that. And once again, it's a you're taking this systematic linear approach, going step by step, has been something that's worked very well for us and has consistently provided solid insight and actionable insight and intelligence for our clients.
Fantastic, Anthony. Thank you so much for summarizing the entire work of Pat Informatics very easily. So what Tony is saying is they understand from where the client is coming from. They ask them the question of why they need what they need, what is their target and how they want to achieve that target. And from these answers of why, what, and how, they actually put out a report which gives enough information, enough visuals for any startup to reach to their goal by using patent information. That's fantastic work, Anthony. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we understand, Anthony, that the patents are very important for any technology, right? So how should we look at evolution of any particular technology using the patent data? How does a patent information or a patent report can actually help out any company to evaluate that?
Okay, well, just, I mean, you could talk a lot about that particular question. I'll keep it relatively brief in the sense that there's been a couple of different studies that suggest that anywhere between 80 to 95% of the information in patents is never published anywhere else. All right, so if you really want to have a solid idea about what's happening in the technology ecosystem, you really have to be looking at patents. I don't think there's really any question or really any doubt about it. Now, different technological areas move faster than others. Pharmaceuticals move relatively slowly. Your event window or your strategic window, as it's often called, the idea of going from a blank slate invention all the way to a marketed product, the amount of time that takes is anywhere between 10 to 15 years. And if a patent publishes after 18 months, you've got quite a bit of time outside of that 18 months to be able to anticipate what's going to happen with your competitors and what moves are going to occur within a technology area. There are others, though, like quite a bit of the things that are happening now in cloud computing or things that are happening in e-commerce. There's a variety of technologies that are within 18 months, the industry has come and gone. And so in that particular sense, it's less of a leading indicator of what's going to be happening, but it's still important because the market time, the lifetime or the marketability of these technologies may far exceed the amount of time it takes to get a patent granted, especially with all the different things that are happening at all the different patent offices around the world to accelerate prosecution and allow organizations to get patents much faster. So I think that's where I'll leave that. I haven't seen a technology yet that didn't have some sort of presence with regards to the world of patents and some patenting going on. And since that's the case, it's absolutely essential, critical even, that organizations understand where they stand, what their competitors are doing, and what the benchmark is for their particular industry.
Fantastic. Yes, I mean, precisely, patents would help you to understand multiple things. One of them is, of course, the marketability of a particular invention and the lifetime of the technology, because very often the high tech also gets obsolete, creating a lot of other opportunities and problems at the same time for the companies or the adopters. Great. Joanna, as I mentioned earlier as well, you are the one who've been working for around 5 years in nursing, and then you started to get into technology, and now here you are leading a VR vision company, which is serving into nursing care. How do you explain this transformation? what was the motivating factor for this shift of field?
A great question, Frank. Honestly, just to begin, before that, me moving originally from the Philippines, that was already a big transition for me because I've been working there as a nurse. And the main goal is really just to continue being a nurse here in Canada. But I guess like what I mentioned, that being a nurse for almost like a decade now in total, I've seen different kinds of like fields already in the nursing side, work in a hospital, retirement homes, home care, even community center. And I just want to have like an to excel my career and also excel the nursing world, merging to the technology space. So even though I know basically I it's not what I finished or like my background, not technology or any entrepreneurship background, but I took that big leap, big risk just because I have that goal. The goal to like excel the healthcare system in my own way. And I've really seen that technology has done a lot of good things already in the field. And when virtual reality was just coming up out in the market around 2016, 2015, that was the time with me and my co-founder started the parent company, which is Beer Vision. And it just evolved from there. We had like subgroup now of which is Reality Well, which I'm the CEO. And yeah, through that, we've been consistently like building more and more specifically for senior living, that it can also be a virtual reality training for the staff. So we really focus more first for client care and second, of course, for healthcare staff and team members. And yeah, like right now, it's been growing a lot more interest just because of the hardware technology being much more adaptable in the space. Because back in the day, almost not like too long ago, like 5, 6 years ago, the hardware is not easy to use. But now it's more comfortable, lightweight, and easy to use either for training or client purposes. So us as a technology partner, we work hand in hand with the hardware, right? We use Oculus Quest, and through this, we just continuously upgrading or updating all our systems and tools for the healthcare industry.
Wow.
That's basically the general like idea of it.
So having goal is so much important, guys. I mean, Joanna started from Philippines. Now she's in Canada. Started
Canada,
her
yeah.
career as a nurse, and right now she's leading a team and in a technology dominant company and making her own way, making big strides. So yes, setting goals is important, and Joanna has proven that, and I'm sure a lot of other people will also take inspiration from you, Joanna. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. That's great to know. John, you have been into army, you've got your bachelor in IT, and you have been working tremendously and tirelessly in the energy space. You also
Yes.
work with government as well. What is your motivation?
Well, I do have an IT background, and I worked in a very large IT shop for Marathon Oil Company for 26 years prior to doing research on kinetic energy. I worked in almost a think tank environment at Marathon Oil Company. Actually, at one time, I had 57 programmers and analysts working underneath me on a project, and we developed some very high-tech projects. By the way, I also believe in what Gideon had to say, keep it simple, stupid. That's a good word for KISS. And I've used that logic my entire career and working on this new energy invention. My goal was, once I retired from Marathon, I know we're going to run out of oil. And most people don't understand that, but we're going to run out of oil. And BP predicts 47 years. So what do we do when we run out of oil? How do we power this world? We cannot power this world by consuming resources. So it has to be some form of alternative energy. By the way, if we run out of oil and then we find a new energy invention that we can power the planet, mankind cannot survive. People don't understand 30% of the oil consumed in the United States is to make products. And without plastics and tires and asphalt, we could not maintain a modern society. And without a modern society, mankind could not survive today with 7 billion people projected to be 10 billion people by the year 2050. So when I retired at 50, I knew this. So we decided we're going to look for what type of alternative energy we're going to try to research. We knew wind and solar were intermittent. Intermittent energy, you cannot count on. We'll never be able to power this planet by the weather. That's exactly what wind and solar represent. So we started looking around, and a few types of energy sources that are available is nuclear, but that causes a huge amount of nuclear waste. Then we looked at geothermal, but there isn't that many locations around the planet that we can exploit geothermal. We looked at river flow, and not dams, but river flow. And we said, hey, that's 24/7 energy. It's the most dense form of energy. So in other words, you can capture it, because I hear a lot of talk about if we could capture all the sun rays. Well, we can't. So that's like ridiculous comments. It's like saying if we could capture gravity, we could power the planet. It's ridiculous. So we start looking at river flow. And so for the next 12 years, I researched river flow with 25 old retired engineers. The oldest today is 94. Now they say age and wisdom, we'll see. The youngest would be 78 right now. So we researched river flow, and we failed for 12 years. I funded the whole thing. We continued building prototypes, putting them in rivers, wearing out waders. And finally, after 12 years, we discovered a different way, which does not use turbines, to extract energy from river flow. We have the capability to extract all the energy from all the river flow. Today, you cannot do that. Straight river flow, what happens is the ebb factor gets in the way. And I'll try to explain real quick what the ebb factor is. If you stand in a river, the force is strong at first, but it goes away right away. And why does it go away? It's because the water surrounds that object and creates like a backstop. So what we did was, after 12 years, we solved that. And then we didn't jump up and down and holler and go tell people. We transformed this energy invention 4 different times to where it is today. And today, again, and then I went out on the internet and tried to start talking about why I was naive. And people skepticism ignored and everything else. I was invited to the United Nations. I gave a small talk. I was invited to the Department of Energy. And they still were full of skepticism, which I don't blame them. I would be too. So what did I do? I created a United Nations challenge. And that United Nations challenge, 99% of the scientists think is impossible. But we stand behind it. We know we can generate enough energy to power 15,000 Earths. And we also know that we can do it for 5% of the cost of wind and solar. We have a prototype. We have all the 3D drawings. We have all the engineering. It's been sent to the United Nations, which is being dispersed to the different member countries of the United Nations. We're willing to go in front of the United Nations and show. And if we can't prove it, go home. We'll go home. So we're willing to put our whole company at risk if we cannot do this. And so far, I haven't heard anything from any country. Just the country of India, part of the challenge says I can generate 10,000 times the amount of energy in India, within India, for 5% of the cost of wind and solar. Mr. Modi has embraced solar. Well, what I'm trying to, and by the way, the distribution capabilities can go anywhere. And, India has 4 times the amount of people that United States has, and it generates 1/3 the amount of electricity United States does. I could help India change all that. If India would stand up and be a partner, the central government, then we can go to the United Nations, and I can show it in front of the world. And by the way, there's many other parts of the challenge. I also state within that challenge, which will mind boggle you guys, that I can power 90% of the planet without any human intervention and without consuming resources for 5% of the cost of wind and solar. This new energy invention is very advanced. I believe it's a century ahead of any technology that exists today. And I'm out here and I'm in front of the United Nations, and all I need is the leaders of the world to step up. And this isn't for me. What my motivation is for my grandchildren, for your children, and for other people's children here. I don't care to be rich. I'm 65, almost 66 years old, and I have. What would I do with $1 billion? I guess I'd live in a mansion with guards out front. That's not who I am. I'm a regular person that has been devoted for the last 15 years to change the world and create a sustainable planet for my grandchildren, which means for your grandchildren. And
Excellent, excellent.
I'm on. The only thing that's holding me up right now is the leaders of the world to step up. And I'm out here in front. I put the challenge out. We're willing to stand behind it. So it does not make any sense whatsoever why they're not stepping up here. Either it's greed, or it's afraid of change, or something's wrong, because the challenge out there, Secretary General asked me to send it to the United Nations, and there's no hold up on our end. We could be there tomorrow if the United Nations stepped up to that challenge. And we're ready. We have all the materials, all the engineering, all the 3D drawing, the prototype. We can take it all there. And this is not some desktop prototype theory. This is a prototype that is exact replica of what the new energy invention will be once installed. It's about the size of a pickup truck, and it shows everything. The 3D drawing, one of them, is like a Disney movie. It shows the new energy invention in operation. We also have 3D printed material that's part of the prototype to show that we're not some backdoor garage company talking this. So we're just waiting. I'm in wait mode, which is kind of ridiculous, but that's what I'm doing. And
I mean, you have been there, done that, and now you're back into your innovation activity with your folks around for last 12 years. You've been doing fantastic work, and now finally you've got the secret juice in your hand, which can cure the energy problem of the world. That's super fantastic. In fact, honestly, my personal experience listening to you right now gave me goosebumps, and I am not kidding. I mean, the passion, guys, people whoever are watching us, see the passion in John. I mean, if you go out with that passion to pitch your idea to anybody, I'm 110% sure people are going to write $1 million check to you right away. And here we are with John, who's working fantastic on the energy side of things. And now,
can I say a couple more words? I have 50 emails from venture capital groups, from people like Prince of Dubai, Prince of Saudi Arabia, and money people around the world wanting to fund this already. I've turned down billions of dollars because what I want is for the benefits of this to go and help poor people and middle class around the world. Money has never been the issue. The issue is patent protection so that we can collect these royalties and help poor countries like India, which is not really, they're a very intelligent company, but they have a great deal of poor population along with a wealthy population. But we want to lift everybody up. And by the way, one last thing before I stop talking here, I really have a lot of passion for the Indian people that are suffering with this pandemic. It's the worst in the world. And I pray for them every day because people are losing their loved ones at a rate that the world has never seen for 100 years. And so I pray that Indian gets through this and that the people, just feel real bad for them. So
thanks for that, John. Really, really great. I mean, as I said, we can see the passion. I'm getting goosebumps, and I'm sure people who are listening to you would also be having the same feelings. It's great to have you here. So, Gideon, moving to you. One of the very important topic which John touched upon was oil is limited. It was the king, people said, but now new oil has came out, which is data. Data is the new oil, is what people are saying. And here you are placed transforming data, making multiple products out of that data, providing insights. What advice would you want to give to people who are starting out, or to startups who also plan to venture into data science and data analytics field, what would be your piece of advice for them?
I mean, first of all, I think my journey to the company I started now is really telling as to that type of advice. So let me give the quick on that, which is essentially, you know, I'm an entrepreneur and I've started multiple companies. And the reason why I started this company was because, you know, I have a background in data science, management science, applied statistics. And what I realized with my co-founder was we'd always done startups around big data and data science. And what we realized was before we even figure out what we want to do, we have to build the tech stack. So we had to sit down and build the infrastructure to just be able to analyze the data, right? And get the data to the models. So that's really why we started the company, was because we saw that almost everything out there is a partial solution, or it's really, you know, sort of like a stepping stone in the process. And so what we really looked at was, how do we get there without tons of custom coding, without tons of specialized expertise, without, you know, a lot of sort of people with hands continuing to operate the system to get the insights out of the data. And that's really how we founded Pandia, was around the concept of what's out there already. You know, we're built on open source technology. So we're built on Apache Pulsar, PrestoDB, and then our own Pandio ML, which is open source that we've released to the market. You know, so for me, I guess the bottom line is make sure you understand what's out there. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. You know, really look to what's already been done and see if there are things out there that are ready to plug and play, right? You don't have to invent every piece of the wheel. You just want to pick the pieces that are missing and focus on those, right? And so that's really kind of the advice I would give, is tons of open source, great technologies out there. Find one that fits the problem you're trying to solve and try to use something off the shelf that already exists. That would really be, you know, a lot of what my advice would be, because there's some great technologies out there.
Excellent, fantastic. So don't try to reinvent. Don't spend enough of your time, enough of your starting period in just reinventing things or coming up with your own technologies to solve a particular problem. Rather, use the existing tech stack and then align things for solving a particular problem is what Gideon's advice for all of you out there. Excellent. Thank you so much, Gideon. Moving on to Joan. Joan,
Can I jump in for 1 second?
yeah, sure.
Gideon, I worked in a shop of 600 IT people, and we developed systems because nobody made systems for all companies because there's only a few of them. So there'd be no market for it. But we always were concerned not only about not reinventing the wheel, but integration, because we had many systems that we needed to integrate. And one of the issues that I see in a lot of companies is where they key data into one system, but then they have to turn around and key other data into another system from the results of that. And so the integration of that wastes more time than just, you know, spending the time to integrate it at the beginning. So I just wanted to bring up a point. You made a good point, but also remember, integration is just as important. So,
yeah, so if I can address that real quick. So one of the challenges, you're right, integration is a huge challenge. And there are lots of companies out there that focus just on that challenge alone. So everything from the IBMs and Accentures, which are systems integrators, all the way to the technology players, which are like API gateways and things like that, connectors, or like MuleSoft. But today there are actually technologies, and we're one of them. We're built on one of them, which is essentially unstructured data goes in. I don't care the format. It can be pub sub, it can be queuing, it can be streaming data, it can be multiple formats, the data itself. You can put it in or you know, give us access to the different systems. It could be a SQL database, a Cassandra database, it doesn't matter, right? We connect to it, and then the data, essentially we use AI and ML to then understand what data that is and then bring it in and make it usable. So it's not necessarily transforming it all to make it the same. It's just creating a situation where it's usable. So it might stay in SQL, it might stay in object-oriented, but ultimately you can query it from one place. And then when you're running a model, you can move it to wherever the model is and make it available for the model. So whatever that means, sometimes it means transforming it, sometimes it means ELT, sometimes it means other things. But ultimately, you know, that's the issue within infrastructure and large scale technology companies, is they have to be in a situation where they don't care, right? And today that's not the case. You're totally correct, John, that today the integration can take longer than the entire project oftentimes. Right. Just getting that, but that's really ultimately the software that we've designed is to make that part literally like you connect it and then it knows how to ingest and deal with that data.
All right. So basically, after calling to Gideon, you can make your whole infrastructure plug and play by using his software. Excellent. Thank you so much, John, for chipping in there, and Gideon for answering his query as well. Over to you, Joanna. So, Joanna, you are into such a unique space. I mean, providing VR solution for training of healthcare people. What are the challenges you face in teaching people on how to use the product?
Thanks for the question, Frank. Another great one. So usually the struggles is, yes, the struggles is the basic how to use the hardware itself. Like even though we've created a very sophisticated training module for them, and we just keep on adding more and more. Sometimes it's as simple as since it's a very new device, not everyone has the chance to get their hands on a virtual reality. And as the years goes by, before, like what I mentioned, that it was really it's actually a bit expensive before because you need a powerful computer and it's heavy to deploy. So with the years go by, that is easier now and it's much more user friendly and also cheaper. That became more adaptive to the general public. So just by the basic, okay, how to hold the controllers, how to position the headset into your eyes so it doesn't look so blurry. So little things as like that can really change the whole user interface that we've created. Because even though it's very powerful, if the basic things that they can't even figure out, then everything will really put into waste. So we really make sure that we really guide them and we have very simple instructions. Even we disable in the controller, we disable buttons that they don't need. It goes directly to their platform. It integrates their LMS. So it's very easy for anyone to really use it, even though we're not there to support them. But it's always been part of our deployment that we always have onboarding. We always have either before we go on site to deploy it, but now since we can't really do it, we do a lot of conference calls. And we're always here for any support. But yeah, as we found out all of those struggles from them, we've really made sure that you just turn it on, you press this one single button because it really gives you that button only to use, that other buttons is disabled and it goes directly.
Excellent. So one of the key thing which you mentioned is disabling the other buttons which are provided on the console. That means life of your user or your customer simple. You are not trying to reinvent the wheel, as Gideon said. Try to use the existing products out there. So you are using the existing hardware, disabling the buttons which are causing confusion to the people and making it simple.
Exactly.
That's a great approach, Joanna. I'm sure all your customers would be happy, and I'm sure you're gonna be having a lot of success as well.
Thanks so much.
Joanna, one question to you: are you guys funded?
No, until to this point, we're self-funded. So the parent company funded the Reality Well because the Reality Well is part of the parent company before. So our clients are the one funding us.
Okay, client are funding you. Excellent, awesome, great. With that funding question, I want to move to Tony. So Tony, in investor world, we are hearing that investors love patent. I mean, they just love it. What's the reason for loving patent so much?
Okay, well, it's a little complicated. I mean, a lot of small companies, a lot of individual inventors, for instance, think that a patent gives them the right to market a product, or gives them the right to sell a product. And unfortunately, that's not the case. What a patent does is it allows you to exclude others. Now, that seems like perhaps a bit of semantics, but from a business perspective, that is a critical difference. If I had the right to sell something, then that would be a little bit different than the right to exclude, because with the right to exclude, I have to enforce my right. I have to go to a jurisdiction and I have to say, look, I have a patent here. These people are infringing it. You need to stop them. And then you go through a relatively involved process of identifying that they are in fact infringing and that they are in fact doing damage to you. Meanwhile, you're highly likely to end up in a legal proceeding of your own, whereby they're challenging the validity of the document in the first place. The idea that you should not have been granted a patent. And so I'm a big fan of patents. I see them being used all the time. I think it's foolish to have a technology company that isn't protected by patents. But at the same time, you have to go into it with open eyes, in the sense that you have to recognize that if you're not willing to invest what is easily $500,000 and likely considerably more, and you're actually going to go to the trouble of enforcing the patent, well, then you've cut off the primary right to exclude. Now, the patents can still be valuable because they're, of course, a bargaining chip. They're a means by which you can license to others. They're a means by which you can cooperate with others and have something, I refer to it sometimes as table stakes. The idea that in a poker game, you've got to bring a certain amount of money to the table in order to be able to play. In the technology field, a lot of times patents are those table stakes. If you don't have any patents, you're really at the whim of everybody else. That can threaten you, that can exclude you, that can charge you higher licensing fees. There's all sorts of different things that organizations can do if you're not on an even playing field as such with regards to patents. So I would say that for small organizations, SME, small medium enterprise, individual inventors, and make sure that you've got a good solid idea of how it is that you think these patents are going to actually help you meet your business goals. A patent attorney is a little bit like a surgeon. If you go to a surgeon and say, yeah, I've got a headache, he's going to say, well, okay, I can slot you in next week. We'll open you up. We'll take a look, and then I'll let you know what's going on. Meanwhile, a different doctor would simply say, take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning, let me know if it still hurts. And a patent attorney is going to say, sure, I can get you a patent. But he may not be what you really need. And so you want to be really careful about understanding exactly what it is that you hope to accomplish and where it is that you hope to move to as your business grows. And those are some of the key things that you're going to want to look at when deciding what your patent strategy is going to be.
Can I pipe in here for a minute? The Worldwide Development Corporation, that's why we're seeking a country like the central government of India or somebody like that, because these patents that will be submitted are so important to the world. So you have to try to find partners that match up with what you've invented. If it's something extremely important, you're going to need very large partners to protect those patents. And that's exactly what the Worldwide Development Corporation is facing today. Otherwise, companies will just patent something 99% the same as you, and then you need to fight them in court, which is extremely impossible for a small company to do. And if, like for me, I'm trying to protect these patents so the royalties go to poor people in the middle class around the world instead of the few that, instead of a large company that just overtrumps me, are a bunch of large companies that do. So exactly what Tony is talking about is the Worldwide Development Corporation's problem that we're facing.
There's just one thing that I'll add to what John said. You have to be very careful. There's something out there called an on-sale bar, and an on-sale bar, and there's also a disclosure clause that once certain things are talked about publicly about inventions, in most countries, they're no longer patentable. So I'm not a patent attorney. I don't give legal advice, but I would be inclined to share, just for sake of goodwill, that provisional patent applications are generally a very, very good thing, because they allow small companies to file inventions, get some form of, they can stake a claim. They can say, on this date, we had this particular invention, we had it filed, and then they can even do a slow roll where they take their time in deciding how quickly it gets reviewed, examined, until they've lined up funding, they've got prototypes and so on and so forth. But it's really critical that you get something in front of a patent office as quickly as possible, because otherwise, if you get too far down the road, you're going to get sued, and someone's going to say, well, you can't patent that because you disclosed it already. This wasn't an invention. It was something you already talked about with others. So just as an FYI, something to think about. And
the problem with that, Tony, is that the patent systems around the world and even within countries are corrupt. And so if you file even a provisional patent, more than likely, there's what they call patent moles, which I'm sure you're well aware of, that's all they do is search for patents. And so then that would not protect you at all, because then another company would just jump ahead of you and file the patent. So, there's problems either way. And I understood what you just said, and we looked at that and decided to wait.
Yeah. Patents take 18 months to publish. During that time, they're considered secret, and it would be against the law for a patent office to disclose.
That's like an outrageous claim. I mean, of course, it's not possible. As a patent attorney
Maybe
myself,
it's happened, but I've never heard of an example of somebody got something stolen before it was published. That somebody came into the patent office and took a file and went off. Not to mention the fact you can ask that it not be published at all in certain countries, in certain circumstances. So, anywho, I'm sure you're talking to legal counsel, John. I'm sure your counsel is giving you great advice, and so I'm sure it'll work out really well.
I don't know if it will or not. We're hoping.
No worries, John. You will find right one. All right, great. So, we are almost around the corner, and we have talked about VR, data analytics, patent research, superb inventions in the energy space. Now, I would like to open the floor in the sense that I've been asking a lot of questions to you guys. Now, I want to keep this floor open to all of you, that you guys can ask questions to each other. We can have one question one person can ask one question to somebody else in the panel if they want to, and I'm going to go on mute. So who wants to go first to ask question?
I'd like to ask a question. It's to the lady that's part of the group. What does it feel like to go from the Philippines to Canada, and also at the same time to start a company? That seems like a very difficult challenge for anybody, but especially someone that is actually starting a company in a foreign country to them. So what's it like?
Fantastic question.
Yes, fantastic question, John. Yeah, it was, of course, bluntly gonna be honest, it's not hard. It's not really easy. It's very hard, because I left Philippines, moved here by myself when I was 24 years old, and I'm 34 now. So it's been a decade. So just that big leap alone, I honestly don't know what I was thinking during that age, because you're early 20s, you're like, I'm working as a nurse back home. I'm okay. Why should I even go to another country and start all over? But I don't know. I have that driving force since I was young, that I need to do something else. I can't be just here and just doing almost a routinary thing. So I applied and pushed myself and do everything from scratch here. And from Canada, they have different standards. I have to go back to school for nursing and study nursing again and work again as a nurse from scratch. And eventually, John, I see that it's becoming routinary again. And knowing me from my driving force when I was younger, I always push for something more for my career. And also not just that, that I want to see more like not even just in technology, but I want to do something for the healthcare space, because that's always been my passion ever since I was a kid. My mom is a doctor. We grew up with a lot of healthcare people in my relatives and family, so I always have that since I was a kid. So I've seen the technology, most especially VR, that really has big uses and a lot of positive use case for the clients and the healthcare staff. And yeah, eventually I found my co-founders. They're very close friends of mine. I think that would be someone who I could really trust, of course. And then we all have different backgrounds. One is expertise in sales, one is expertise in marketing, and we just eventually built our own dev team from that. And yeah, the rest is history. A lot of really, if it's very cliche, but if you really want something and you're very passionate about it, even though you don't have any background in technology or entrepreneurship, it's just gonna flow flawlessly, because I've learned everything from self-taught, like from my experience only, right? I've never learned this from school, business school or technology school. I've worked on my strengths, and yeah, that's it. And how we are thriving, I guess, like moving forward right now. Thanks, John. I think
Excellent, fantastic.
me
And
next now.
yeah,
Okay,
sure, sure, go
I
ahead.
think I have a patent question, maybe for
Mhm.
Tony or even for you, Priyank. So as a custom, we do a lot of custom development software, and we haven't really patented anything, both for reality well and both for the parent company, VR Vision. So we just don't know honestly what is patentable. We actually haven't got to that part yet. And would it really make a big evaluation if in terms of like we want fund investments like that? Will this matter? Yeah, if anyone of you or both of you could like give me some light about that, would really be helpful. Okay.
Fantastic question again. Tony, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. I was going to let you do that, but I can
Uh-huh.
just speak very, very briefly. You know,
Yeah.
things have changed. If this was 5 years ago, I would have told you keep it as a trade secret. There's lots of different things you can do to keep things as trade secrets, and it's a relatively worthwhile approach to trying to get some type of protection. That especially if you have really no intention of ever taking anybody to court for infringement, but you want to make sure that you don't get stolen from. But now, you know, the whole idea of machine learning, the whole idea of software patentability has swung in the opposite direction. It's becoming more that these patent offices around the world are recognizing how critical these inventions are to their economies. And that if they're not protecting it, people are going to take that research and they're also going to take that manufacturing and they're going to go elsewhere with it. So it's starting to swing in the other direction. But then, you know, having said that, you know, we just had the Supreme Court in the United States come back with, it took them 10 years, Google versus Oracle, and the idea of whether or not you could really protect a graphic user interface. And the Supreme Court basically said no. And so, you know, that was really a significant disappointment. And yeah, once again, a little bit of a step back as to the ability to actually have patents. But again, you know, talk to a good patent attorney, talk to a patent attorney that works in this particular space. Think about what it is that you do differently and how discoverable it might be. And you may in fact find that there's an opportunity to file a couple of applications, and you know, as those continue to develop, may in fact be a valuable resource for the company in the future.
Great. I would like to
Thank you
add a
so
couple
much,
of things
Tony.
to that, Joanna. So see, as a software company, of course, patents are there if you're solving any technical problem, okay? If the company or the product or the solution is solving any technical problem using the technologies, then it's a patentable idea, okay? All we need to do is identify what problem you are solving and how the technology is helping you to solve that problem. Okay, so what we do is we get on a call with all of our clients. We understand their product, if the product is ready, or we understand the philosophy behind the product and how you envision your product, how you envision your service to be used by people, how will the technology play its role, and then we identify what are the unique ideas which can be patentable. We identify the anchors where you can put and protect your technology. See, because in software space, it's very easy to reverse engineer. If you do not patent your product and you launch in the market, people will see the product and they will just use already established libraries, and they will come up with your own products copied version in a week's time. It's no big deal. It's no brainer anymore, right? That's why Tony started saying that had it been 5 years ago, keep it secret. But now you cannot keep a secret. So file a patent. And couple of advantages for a small company, for any company or a technology company, is patent improves the valuation of the company, because the more people you can stop to enter into the market, the higher the valuation goes. It will help you to attract a lot of investors, because they will ask you, what is your USP? They'll ask you, why should I fund in you? What's your purpose, right? And the patent would be your answer. You can just say that this is what is my uniqueness. I filed a patent application, got it granted in India, USA, Canada. That means nobody else can copy you in that space, in that country, which gives you lot many advantages. That's why having a patent is important. How to identify is, of course, get on a talk with your any professional, and they'll help you out. They'll help you out to understand the patent. And of course, not just filing a patent, you must also need to focus on why you want to file a patent, because the strategy is important. Just by filing random patent applications does not make much sense. Uh, if an organization or a company has a vision, and they know the importance of patent, then they should actually try to identify the reasons why they want to file, and as per their goals, they should file the patent applications. So we help all of our clients in doing that. We have been helping a lot of US based and Canada based startups in doing invention mining, identifying patentable ideas from their existing products, and then we file the applications across and then represent them as well. I hope I answered
Thank
all
you
of the
so much.
questions.
Yeah, very insightful. I've just by doing this, I've learned a lot already. Thank you. Thank you
So
so much.
that,
So many information.
that's
Thank
the
you.
whole agenda, as I said in the beginning. We are all here just to share our wisdom, share our thoughts, share our learnings, our experiences. Like you shared your inspiring story on how you started from Philippines, now in Canada, leading a tech team without even having any degree or professional engineering courses in the tech. That's incredible. So we have, so guys, thank you so much. I mean, we are around the corner, unless anybody has any other question.
Yeah, I have a question for Gideon. Nobody's asked him one
Excellent.
yet. Is your
Yeah.
company more of a product company or a service company?
We're a SaaS company, so we're a software solution. So people pay for consumption. So you sign up, you use, you don't use, you don't pay, you use, you pay. So it's really because we work with very large companies, so they need to be able to manage resources and costs. So that allows them to just try it, play around with it, get the benefits, and then if they like it, they can use it across the organization.
Okay.
Great, fantastic, fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for being here. We learned right from having the passion, why it is important for setting goals and being obsessive about adding values to every day, adding values to what we are doing. I mean, people like John have been researching for 12 years straight, identifying a solution to the problem, because he's so much passionate about the cause, right? So guys, it's very important to identify our why. Okay, it's said that often people focus on what part, and they also know how they want to achieve their what part, but they forget about the why they started, why they started their entrepreneur journey, why they are starting building up a product. So all the gentlemen here, and Joanna as well, people have started uh, with their why. They know the purpose, they know why they're doing something, and they believe in their cause. So it's very important to do that. And once we do that, of course, the result is fantastic. Today we learned about IP, we learned about data being the king, and the fantastic proverb, which is keep it simple and stupid. Case. Excellent, guys. So to all the people who are listening to us, who are seeing us, guys, this recording, we are already recording this session. It's gonna be out on YouTube. It's gonna be out on LinkedIn. It's gonna be out on podcast as well. You can always tune in and listen to the great wisdom shared by Anthony, Joanna, Gideon, and John as well. Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure having you. Would be happy to talk to you all over the next weekend.
Bye.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much
Thank you
everybody.
for
so
having us.
much. Bye. Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.
Thanks a lot, Prayak,
Thank you so
Joanna,
much, guys.
Anthony,
Bye
and
bye.
John.
Take care.
Nice to meet you guys.